Hi, good morning. Today's March 7th, 2019, and we will begin this morning's work session. If we can start by standing for the pledge. Tim, you want to lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The other Tim will sing the Star Spangled Banner.
Tim, did you want to say?
Oh, did you mean him?
No, no.
Oh.
So, good morning. I would just like to, yesterday, we had a supervisor for the day here, which was Lydiana from Aquabog School. Each summer, the Riverhead the Riverhead Library does a summer reading program. And from that, the supervisor of the day is picked. And so she came in yesterday and did a great job running the town for the day. And I just also wanted to give a shout out to her because she wasn't able to be here for a meeting. And she did proclaim yesterday as STEAM Day in the town of Riverhead, which the STEAM Day stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math. So I thank her very much for coming and helping us run the town yesterday. And we hope to see you back here one day running for election. She was quite enthusiastic.
Did she give you a run for your money?
Oh, she did. She went down to all the apartments. She was at Highway. She went over. She was everywhere. So it was very good. So we can start today's town board meeting. We had talked about doing committee liaison updates. So I was wondering, did anybody want to present any updates for their committees at this point? I know that we just started this, and I know some committees hadn't met. So I didn't know if anybody wanted to report off this week or wait till.
I just, on Monday, I met with the new director for the East End Arts. Her name is Diane Burke. And went over a lot of things that have been problems there in the past and things she's gonna try to fix and correct. She has some really good ideas on some programs she's gonna put together.
Okay.
And we'll know more about them in the very near future as they're scheduled and the times and dates are set up. But
Okay.
she had some really great ideas and it was very nice to meet her.
Good. Very good. Very exciting.
Yeah, and the gallery looks great. So I met with her yesterday. They're looking to, I think it's the end of August, that they're going to have the detour.
It's gonna be, it goes through the end of August.
Right, June 7th
Yes.
through August. So that, the Buildings and Grounds did a great job in doing the floors and doing the walls, and they have all the gallery space up. It really looks amazing.
It
So
really looks nice in there.
it's good.
Good.
And then, I think they're looking to do something with the schoolhouse that has kind of been put there and then fallen apart. So I know we got a $250,000 DASNY grant that they're looking to get somebody in there to
Make it a ceramic studio.
make it a ceramic studio, so that's exciting. Yeah. And then the Veterans Advisory Committee, just, everybody knows that we're having on March 24th, the Operation Eagle Heart, where we're honoring 14 women that have served in the military that are from Riverhead. That will be at Polish Hall. The tickets are $50 each, and you can contact Kerry from the VFW, which is on the flyer, or our assistant in the town coordinator's office, Karen. She will have information as to how to get tickets.
So I'm just gonna mention that I'm very pleased that we just voted on the environmental committee, this week. We have a large group and they're going to, start meeting on March 26th, so I'm looking forward to that. And, for the downtown committee, I'm just gonna mention that on the 20th of this month, we have Eric Alexander from Vision Long Island will be coming and talking to the group.
Good.
And then I was reached out to by Bob Kern, who would like to start up the Business Advisory Committee again. So I have that resolution being drafted, and then it'll be presented to the board next Thursday at work session, hopefully for adoption at the town board meeting, to create a Business Advisory Committee, Small Business Advisory Committee.
That's, I'm kind of curious. I actually looked at that. We had
Yeah.
one, did it end in 2012? What happened with it?
Yeah, it was basically 2010, it fell apart, the members couldn't make it, and we were getting 1 or 2 members at a time, so it kind of, not that it disbanded, it still existed, but people weren't showing up to the meetings, but now
There's no meeting's been held since 2010.
No, because now the business community feels that there's a need for meetings, where they didn't feel there was a need for meetings from 2010 until now. So now the business community is coming saying that we want to form a business advisory committee.
Okay, and when I looked through the old resolutions, I saw that they had just people on there. There was no stakeholders, like stakeholder representative groups listed. So are we gonna, how are we Well, you put the
what-
resolution forward and then we'll see
We're
what.
gonna put the resolution forward,
yeah.
and then next to each person's name on the, committee, and we should all do that, like, Catherine, maybe you can let us know, like, all the people that are on the environmental committee, like, what their experience is in environmental practices that we're appointing to the committee, and then if that's the new protocol going forward, that each committee member has to be identified with some, either be a stakeholder or have some
yeah.
knowledge and experience in those type of, so we should start looking at resumes of people that want to be on committees, and make sure that their experience allows them to be on that committee.
I think all the committees have pretty much done that. When we redid the committees, I think everybody had already come in. There was, most of them were established already. They had the chair, they chose co-chair, they interviewed the people that wanted to be on the committees. Some of them were listed as stakeholders.
Yeah,
So-
well, the one we just adopted the other night, where we added somebody on last minute, I hadn't seen that person's resume, so if that's what we're gonna do, we should be asking for everybody's resumes, and the town board should discuss it, so that
By the
we,
way,
I don't
before we
think
Well,
appoint them.
I'm just gonna jump in here, because for the downtown committee and for the environmental committee, I looked at all resumes and cover letters, and I met with everybody. I sat and met with everyone for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted to see that they were a fit for the committee, and two, once I meet with someone individually, it's nice, because as the committee moves forward, I understand where their expertise is or where their interest lies, and then when we break into subcommittees, it's helpful.
So you
but-
met with Joe Petroselli also?
No, I never met with Joe
Oh,
Petroselli,
okay.
actually.
So
I
are there other
already,
members on that committee that you hadn't met with? Cause you just said I met with all the people that we put
no,
on the committee.
actually, I didn't meet with Joe, you're right,
Okay.
but I met with everybody else. But for the environmental committee, I'm kind of excited, cause it's a wide, it's a wide variety. It's people from in the community, it's people who have been involved in environmental groups, it's people who have been former public officials, it's people that are interested in, working in their community and getting involved in the town, so it's a very nice mix, and I'm excited to get started with them.
Good, so I will label, I had the resolution drafted as to recreate the business advisory committee, and I have the names of the people that have reached out to me that wanna be on it. So I will just put a tag next to them as to
Well, I
what
think-
they're representing.
Yeah, and
I'll
then we
present
have
it
to-
next week.
We have to see who'll be, I know Jim Wooten had been the advisor for that in the past, so I think we need to.
Actually, it was
address-
me, but,
I don't know, well, the old resolutions I had, it was Jim, so,
okay.
okay. All right, if we can move on to the amended chapter 255 changes. Diane, if you'd like to come up for that, Bob, Laura Calamita.
Look at that file. It's almost as big as
You're
you
back.
are, Laura.
This isn't all the new applications.
Those are what?
These aren't even all the new applications.
Oh, those are new applications?
No, these aren't. These are just what we've worked on
Okay.
since we started
Okay.
amending that.
So, the reason that we're here, we sat here for many weeks, coming up with the new 255 regulations. We had a public hearing on it, we adopted it as a local law. We had reached out to the businesses that previously had applied for applications. We sent them a letter for the changes. We had put in a 60-day, I believe, grace period after the adoption of the law for people to come in and file under the old application and the old fees. And then we had somebody come Tuesday night, and the board wished to discuss it again at work session. So I think you had some concerns with it, if you want to.
My big concern with it is the notification that was or wasn't made to people that are applying for 255s. I know we sent letters out, but not everybody's saying they received them, and the other problem we have is, and the one gentleman who was here, Mr. Zailer, never got one, their organization never got one. They aren't somebody who's done this every single year for the past 10 years, but they've sporadically done it.
Okay.
So it's an important project that he does. So it's important that we don't cut people out like that, and that's what this has done because of our method of notifying wasn't as good maybe as it could have been, or maybe we should have sent out certified letters, return receipt requested. This way we know they in fact did get a letter, and then we can hold them accountable to it. But I'm not looking to turn people in. I'll give you another example. Meeting with Diane Burke from the East End Arts. She has the Mosaic the Sidewalk Festival coming up in the end of May. And I'm not sure right now if she can get it in time to have that festival. And that's just a situation that she wouldn't know about any of this because she wasn't the director for the last one. And then there's been another director in between, so we're gonna run into situations. And I don't wanna lose these programs that have been done for years, and they're great programs. And this is gonna cause us to lose these programs, and it's just not right.
Well, my take on this is just let us know. We have been following the code as it was
Right,
rewritten,
right,
and that's
absolutely.
fine. But if there are some changes or some amendments or just some new rules, we have to know, because we're telling people one thing,
I know.
there's a
It's
lot of
absolutely,
misinformation and
and-
confusion on the applicants, well, we don't wanna lose
Right.
them either.
No.
Our thoughts are like yours, let them have their projects or their
Well,
events.
Our thoughts would try to make this easier for everybody involved
Mm-hmm.
doing these applications because of the way that they have been done in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And a good example of that is the chicken kids who came in again, late again this year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're trying to alleviate. But I don't know that we need to be as rigid as throwing up a steel wall and say no or yes.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And people are losing out and the town is losing out because of programs that aren't gonna make it in time.
Right, in
Well,
the
well, I
past,
don't,
I'm sorry.
the Mosaic would not be out because they have, the last day is the 45 days, correct? So
That's correct.
it would not affect the Mosaic at all.
Right.
And for the other people that came in, they just didn't wanna pay the late fee for the late application, is that correct?
I'm not so sure, some people said they were willing to pay the late fee, like,
But
when
no,
the
but
late.
for the gentleman that came up, did he miss a
Oh,
deadline?
Mr. Zaylor?
He's-
When was
said he
his
didn't
date?
He's
wanna
a
pay the late.
not-for-profit.
So,
Okay.
right, but he didn't miss, he is not, it doesn't preclude, the way that it's written does not preclude him from having his event.
When is his event?
I
It's
don't
April
know.
27th.
So it wouldn't preclude him,
Don't think so.
I think he would be 45 days.
Is he a
before.
not-for-profit?
Yes.
He is.
is.
Okay, so his would
But
be,
he said that he had to file it, I think he was trying to file it 60 days, and he said that he had to file it 90 days prior to the event, for the
Right,
amount
but
of
he-
people
Right.
that he was having. So, the fact that he came in, or tried to come in 60 days,
Right,
and you know what,
right.
Diane, your office is doing a great job, and I appreciate the fact that you are abiding by the code and the rules, and I'm sorry for any confusion that it's caused your office.
well, I feel worse for the people who,
I know
the
you do.
applicants.
I
but
know
That's
you do.
Where I'm coming
There's
from,
the-
it's,
We're telling them one thing, but they're, so I think there's a lot of
Right.
difficulty for them.
I'm concerned that we need to back you. I mean, we've
Right.
got you out there saying one thing, and
Right,
yet we're
and then
saying
it's right.
another. We need to
Right.
figure out how to
And
make
as
it
long
work,
as-
because we don't wanna
Right.
leave you hanging there.
No, as long as there's clear directive on how this is supposed to work, we're fine, we'll do whatever it is. You guys are making the rules, we'll do whatever,
So,
Yeah.
but we need to know.
so the only person this is actually affecting right now is that one event.
Right.
That was denied, and
Well,
it's,
there's
and
two.
had they come in 40 days, even with, under the old code, they could have actually filed the old application and it would have been a moot point. So it's kind of a self-imposed hardship that they're creating, because the old application required 40 days prior to the event. So had they come in under the old application when they were required to come in, they would have been on the old application. So it's kind of, you know, this is one of the reasons that we did this, was because of this scrambling period where people came in, you know, outside of the window when they were supposed to come in. You have fire marshal, you have the police department, you have all of the staff struggling to accommodate people. So it's kind of this is exactly why we put these in place.
I
Understood.
understand, and
Totally agree.
I completely
I
agree
voted for
also.
it.
But the thing I guess that we didn't anticipate was people saying that they didn't receive the letters. So I think that certified letters, and I think that even if they have it every other year, I mean, ARF, for example, they come and they bring their mobile around and they go into neighborhoods where there are feral cats and they capture the feral cats and they spay and neuter them, and, I mean, they're really providing a service
I
to
don't
the.
believe I ever prepared a resolution for
No,
ARPA,
you
ever.
didn't, they do
So
it.
you never prepared a resolution for, so they've never, so we wouldn't even know they would have been on the radar.
No,
to
ARF
file for
was at
255.
Tanger 2 years ago.
I
My
don't
staff
believe-
looked back, they couldn't find an
I couldn't
application.
either on my directory.
So then they would have never gotten a letter.
Right.
They would,
So,
right,
then
they would have never
they-
gotten a
So
letter.
did
Okay, but
But did they apply before? I mean.
We
No, that's
couldn't
what
find
they're saying,
evidence.
they
We
never
couldn't-
applied
So
before,
they
so.
had it without doing the application?
Perhaps, I
maybe.
don't know.
Maybe.
He said they did it a couple years ago, and like I said,
They
they
couldn't
bring the
find it.
mobile there, and they have the animal adoption day at Tanger, so, and they do it outside of Petco every Saturday also, during the nicer weather,
Right.
and I don't think they come in for a,
Pretty sure not.
255.
Are
But
they required
if-
for a 255 for that?
Well,
So, anyway, I think what I'm trying to say, and I agree with Tim, is that we don't wanna turn these people away because they are taking animal or dogs from the Riverhead Animal Shelter and
They've
they're
got a
offering
great
them
program.
up for,
But
rescue.
I don't think
so-
we were turning them away.
We're
Wasn't
not
the-
turning them away, they
The
still.
problem with them was, I think they were asking to have the late fee waived.
Yes,
For
as they're a
art.
But
not-for-profit.
they were
art.
within.
Right.
Right, but they were within the time period.
No, they weren't.
I thought they were.
They were.
They need
They
90
were.
days, and he said he filed it 60 days prior
No,
to
that's
the
why he's
event.
getting a late.
No, no, that, right,
Correct.
exactly. So that was what we put in the code, is that he'll be charged a late fee, but he
Right.
still certainly will not be denied his event.
Their event wasn't
Right,
denied.
but
There
as a
was There
not-for-profit-
was a late fee.
As a not-for-profit that is providing a service, he's saying their money goes towards treating the animals, the dogs and the cats, and hiring the doctors to
Right.
do the spay and neutering, to,
Right.
you know, I mean, I had a problem with feral cats in my neighborhood, and, they do provide a great service, not that they came, but we
Right.
had to capture the cats and try and bring them to the vet and have them spay and neutered,
And those are
It's-
things, Jody, that we have to know.
Yeah.
If we're gonna waive those fees based
Agreed.
on the fact that this is a not-for-profit, we have to know that.
agreed.
And so we need that clearly spelled out.
I think that just the amnesty period needs to be lengthened, that's all. And I think that, if you go through a full 1-year cycle of amnesty where there are no, as long as they're in by the 45 days. So at least 45 days. Those that know about it, because we did send them letter, and we'll send out certified letters to people that have had it in the past. So send them certified letters, get somebody to sign for it, and then you can say, hey, this person signed for it, rather than people coming to us saying they never got the letter.
Can we just, I did some research on chicken kids, I went back to 2017, I did not prepare a chapter 90, or resolution for approval for any 16, however many years they've had it. But in 2017, they had, let me just go here.
Well, maybe they don't need one. I mean, Polish Hole is a catering facility, so they are,
I,
Well, the
yeah,
problem
It's
is
outside.
They were
They
inside,
had-
and then they expanded to the outside, and the fire marshal had a problem with the occupancy and the fact that they were now working outside and had expanded, so then.
It was
they-
complaint driven.
There was complaint, and they said file then chapter 90, now 255.
but I mean, it was brought up today to me that, Long Ireland, that they have their halfway to St. Patty's Day, and that these guys are working, they're brewing. They're not going on the town website, they're not paying attention to what that we're doing, they're not reading the local papers. And they might miss that deadline. So they were alerted by the bid that they should get their application in, and so I'm just saying that if these people I don't know if they got a letter or not. Did Long Ireland get a letter?
I have the list.
There was
The problem
I
is,
think
these
there was
aren't the
41.
only ones we're gonna have.
Right,
We're
right.
gonna
I know,
have
that's
a
what
going
I
forward.
forward.
Exactly.
But Laura, can you finish? You started to talk and then you got
Well, but
interrupted.
that's okay, chicken
Yeah,
kids.
Long Island was included,
It was?
yeah,
Let Laura talk.
sorry,
That's all right, no, that's fine.
sorry.
Okay, they had their event on November 20th to November 24th in 2017. So they dated their application August 1st, but yet it wasn't clocked in or submitted to the town clerk until August 28th. So by the time that the town clerk clerked it in until the date of their event was 23 days. So they had to get a waiver that year. Then in 2018, they had 2 events. The first date of events was 4/18 to 4/22. So they didn't submit it to the town clerk until April 4th. But yet the application that they put on, it said March 1st, so basically had it over a month, if that's true, if that date is true on the application. So on the April of 2018 event, they were only 14 days in advance of their event. Then the second event in 2018 was in the month of September. They submitted it September 11th, yet their application was dated September 1st. But it looks like it was changed to an 8, so backdated a little bit, because I see a 9 and an 8. And that was only 8 days in advance.
I understand.
And they were, and I was aware of these. These were incredibly difficult to allow them to go through with their events because of just all those reasons. And that was part of the impetus in all of this, to sit down and go over the church. And I think the reflection of who gets somebody coming in late or not late, this has absolutely no reflection on the merits of the people that are coming in for the application. I think that especially the nonprofits that are coming in, do great work. I don't think any of this is a reflection on the validity of what they're providing for our community at all. So I think that really needs to be, stressed.
I
How
just
about an
wanna-
appeal process?
We
Could
don't
we
have
look-
one currently.
I know we don't have one. Could we look at installing an appeal process into the code?
And what would be the criteria for an appeal?
Well, that would be something we'd have to work out. We'd have to hammer out what we would accept and what we wouldn't accept.
So my question is, the reason that we wanted to do this was so that the staff who has time to do that, because especially with these larger events, this is a 1,200 person event. This is not, 200 people. So that the staff had time to be able to do that, and then also to calendarize it out. So if this event came in and we already had 3 events that day, and then to try and go to the police to see if we have enough parking spaces, fire marshal has to go. I mean, fire marshal has 27 applications on their desk for people that filed appropriately. For this, they have to drop all of those applications, put all of those other people off so that they're not getting their recommendations in time. To do this for this event, for somebody who's chronically filed inappropriately and is well aware that they file inappropriately, because they know every time these other ones came in, that has been an issue, and they've had to come and get waivers for
I
people.
have an email from the applicant of Chicken Kids. I'm so sorry, I thought I was within the 40 days.
Okay, so we know that they were wrong, bad, bad, bad. So are we saying you can't have the event? Because
Well,
I don't think that's right either.
This goes then to Bob, because
This
it's,
was 2017,
yes.
2
Yeah,
years ago.
which,
So so
They-
Bob,
they know the
this is a local law,
Correct.
so how does that even work? Can you even waive it?
well, you can always get a variance from the local law.
Well, we don't have a variance approval, because a variance would be something that would be coming from a zoning board
Yeah.
decision, chapter 301. This is
Yep.
not a chapter 301 determination, so zoning
I
board of
think-
appeals is not a relief mechanism.
What I would like to do is have a resolution drafted that allows a 1-year grace period from the day it was adopted, December 18th, I think was the date, if
Yes,
I'm
it
not
is.
mistaken.
It is.
So December 18th through December 18th of 2019,
You'd have
so
to do
that
a
gives,
local law.
okay,
We have to
fine.
do it by local law.
Fine, we'll
because
amend
we-
this.
Because
Can we let Bob
we did it by local law, legislative equivalency, we'd have to do that by local law.
Okay,
So we'd have to amend the effective date to provide for a 1-year amnesty, a 1-year period of time for you to be,
Good.
people to become familiar with it. It'd have to be local law.
So does
That's
it
what
have
I
to
would
be
like to
posted
do.
in public hearing and everything
Yes.
else?
Yes.
so that's what I would like to do.
Yes.
But-
And I would like to
but-
call for a special town board meeting one day next week to adopt this resolution for the local law, and then Diane can advertise it in the paper, which I think takes 2 weeks, right? So then
If
at
you-
the,
Depending on.
But then it also has to be, Bob, could
We
you
have at
just
least
timelines?
10 days for the local law, I think, before you can hear it. So I think our statute says 10 days, so we'd have to publish and post, whatever the date of publication would be, it have to be 10 days from that date before the local law.
Oh, loud,
Before
loud.
before the public hearing could be heard, and then, of course, you'd either adopt it on that day, or you'd have to adopt it at the following town board meeting. But you'd have to do it by local law. This is done by local law, it's part of our chapter, so it'd have to be done that way.
okay,
The only other thing I'd throw out there is a wrinkle, I guess, if you wanna say that, is I don't know, and probably Diane and Laura have a much better grasp of this, is whether there's others who have paid a late fee already,
There's one
who
coming in,
obviously
Riverhead
would
Rotary.
have to have some kind of mechanism for a refund if this is what you're doing. And then, if there's any others out there that have been impacted, who would then have to be reconsidered. I don't know. I don't know what other implications or what other trickle effect or what other kind of fallout might come from this.
I would say we reimburse those people the fees that had to pay the late fee, because if we're changing the law to address that, and the 27 applications that are sitting on someone's desk right now, those events may not be happening for 90, 120, 150 days, for all we know. So.
There's 27 pending right now.
27 pending right now, because they all came into me the day they were dropping their application off to the town clerks to say hello, because that was the deadline, the 24th of February, I believe it was. So
Yes, it was.
they all came in on the same day.
Laura, how many events did we have last year? Do you remember?
I wanna see the 74 or 77 for the year.
Okay.
So
No.
this is
And,
Sorry.
go ahead.
Well,
third.
I mean, we didn't enforce this, we didn't put this into effect because we were trying to be difficult, make it difficult for people.
Right.
We did this because, financially, it was a burden on the town, that people were scrambling and doing stuff at the last minute. The fire marshal spoke to us yesterday about how backlogged he is, with work. So I think that was our reasoning. It was a problem, correct?
Agreed,
Can-
totally agreed.
Can anyone else
But
weigh in on this?
The problem
Laura,
is,
or-
we went from 0 to 100. And this is catching a ton of people
But it's not,
off guard.
it's only actually one person that is
No, no,
caught.
no, you,
Two.
Two,
how many-
oh, two.
just wait,
Three.
you
Home
say
Depot
that,
too.
just
It's the
wait,
off people?
just wait.
But the off
You don't
people,
have
there's
your
a mechanism
applications
for
in
them
yet
to.
for a
Well,
lot.
they still can, they
Right,
can still
they're-
come
they're
in, but they
events-
would pay a late fee.
Late fee.
Same thing
See,
with Rotary.
that's what I mean, Rotary.
Rotary is donating $1,500 for the flowers, for
A
the
community
Operation
service
Eagle Heart.
program, and now they're paying $600 in late fees. It's just, it's not
Where the
right.
money could go to a scholarship.
$350, chapter 255 application fee, and they would be late by 30 days times 20 would be another 600. But, no, not 350, I'm sorry, they're not-for-profit, so it would be 150 plus 600 in fees.
Which could go to a scholarship to one of our, Riverhead school students.
So
So,
are you
I'm just-
saying that you don't, when someone is a not-for-profit, you're gonna waive, going forward, that we will waive the late fees for them?
No.
No,
No.
I'm just saying, make it a one-year amnesty to get through a
Okay.
cycle.
But the amnesty is for what? For the date you have to file your application, or the fees, or what are we waiving? Are we saying that everything could?
penalties.
But,
Just the penalties?
I would say the penalties.
so you still have to file before 45 days or you're denied?
No, I think that there should be an appeal process also, like Tim said, for the 45 days.
And what
And I
would,
think that, I don't think that Chicken Kids is gonna come in late with their application next year.
I hope not.
what would be?
If they do, then it would be denied, because it had gone through the one-year cycle.
But, so what is the appeal process, up to 2 weeks before? For an event of 1,000 people?
I would
But
say.
right now, you're giving an event, they filed, 30 days?
I would say.
30 days for an event of 1,200 people. We wanna allow that, if
It's
you have 1,200 people?
that are flowing. They were not all getting there at the same time and leaving at the same time. It's flowing in and out throughout the day. And those people that are coming here might be visiting the aquarium because they're parents with kids that want to buy affordable clothing for their kids for the summer, or,
Jody, we're
you know,
not
change of
denying,
seasons.
we're not denying the event, it's a for-profit event,
Good.
right?
Not
So it's
denying the
a
event.
woman's
Great.
business. This is
Yep.
not a not-for-profit event, okay? So it's a for-profit event. My question to you is, not the merits of this particular event, but what is the appeal that we're going to allow? So are we going to allow somebody to appeal if they file less than 30 days and with an event of 500 people, 1,000 people, 2,000 people? What is there still needs to be, because when they go to Diane or to Laura and they have an event that's 2 weeks before with 1,000 people, will they be able to appeal or not? Because
I get
then we
it.
get back to the same whole
Yeah.
problem that we had
I know.
last year,
Saying
so.
the same thing,
so-
kinda. But I think that it should be up to the police chief and the fire marshal as to these events that have happened in the past and whether or not there have been any problems. And if the police chief and the fire marshal say absolutely not, deny the application, these people are a problem, they've given us a problem, the traffic was horrendous, there were accidents, there were people getting hit by cars, there were, things like that, then we don't have enough time to review it and make sure that we have all the safety precautions in place. But if the chief of police and the fire marshal say, you know what, this application's no big deal, Polish Hall has all their fire inspections, it's great. The outside, as far as the tents are concerned, we don't look at the tents until the day before the event. We don't have any other events that day, or we do, we can't fit that one in, leave it up to the police
But
chief and the fire
that's
marshal.
pretty much what we were doing before, so, and that's kind of, under what you're saying, so if a new event comes in, right, so fire marshal, police wouldn't know, they come to Diane, the event is 27 days away, Diane then is supposed to call the fire marshal and the police to see if they're okay to do it, and if they're okay to do it, you'll accept their application, and that doesn't come before the board. It's just whether the police and fire marshal, that's what Diane needs to do? Is that
Well,
what
it
you're
says, all
suggesting?
applications for a permit shall be reviewed by the town board, town attorney, chief of police, and fire marshal. That's in 25511. That's not something that we changed. So when the applications come in, they get dispersed to the town board, the town attorney, the chief of police, and the fire marshal. If anybody objects to the application, if it's 27 days or 30 days, then it gets denied.
So
But-
but if you're not here on a Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock, you don't look at your email at a Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock,
We leave it up to
and
you
it's 27 days before, and should Diane take the application as if it will be reviewed by the fire
Well-
chief and everybody? Because the applicant still needs to know whether they can go forward with their event.
Well, that's why I said that I wanted a template when we were discussing this, saying that the town clerk is receiving my application, but it does not guarantee that the event will be approved. And they sign that right there when they're submitting the application. That's what I wanted to have done, and the rest of the board, I guess, didn't see fit to do that in here, but that's what I wanted done.
But-
Do
but
you remember
still-
discussing it,
But-
Catherine?
But how does
Everybody else
that?
disagreed on that.
Yeah, but
Okay,
how
so
does that?
then why don't
how
we
does
do that?
But my question is, who approves the application? When an application comes in on a Friday afternoon, because if we're not doing 30 days or 20 days or 45 days, basically we'll take it out, what we're saying is we'll take an application a week before. If we're not putting a date, we have a 45-day limit, and are we changing that to a 30-day limit now?
Well,
And
take the-
previously, we had a
Take the
40-day
money,
limit.
take the
So,
template, take
but-
the template that says we're taking your fee, and because you're 2 weeks away from the event and you're supposed to be 45 days, if it gets denied, we're keeping your fee, because we're still circulating the application.
So now we're asking a not-for-profit to drop off possibly, or somebody to drop off $650 for an
No,
application
not
that
the
we may
penalties,
deny.
we're gonna waive the
Or
penalties for the first
350,
year.
how much is the application for an event over
150.
over 1,000?
Over 1,000?
Over
is-
For a
$1,000.
not-for-profit,
$350.
But-
We
no,
made it
150.
750.
$150.
No, but for,
Wait, not-for-profit.
but for,
Oh, not-for-profit,
but
okay.
for a for-profit, because we're not limiting this to
So what,
not-for-profit.
if a for-profit wants to give the clerk a check
A
for 350?
for-profit is 650, 751 to 2,500 people,
So Bob, under our local law, how would we?
750.
How would we even do that? So basically, we have no date for when they have to submit it. We'll take their money, and it's non-refundable, and we may or may not decide to approve their event. And we cannot give them any information till the next town board meeting.
No,
And
not the
fi-
next town board meeting. If it comes in Friday at 4 o'clock, by Monday, Tuesday of the next week, the police chief will have looked at it, the fire marshal will have looked at it.
But the town board still has to approve 255s.
Town board is the party that will adjudicate the resolution. I don't think Laura, with all due respect, and I know she's very thorough, is gonna make a determination, say your event's approved.
We're not
I-
saying
She's
that.
not gonna make that call. But I
I'm
know-
not saying
I know.
that.
Right.
There's so many different facets of this when you come in. Rugged Maniac Races, it's gonna be at Dean Del Priet's. It's not until September 7th. I just did an email that's literally 10 inches long of text of what I still need. It's just, these take a lot of
I know.
work, a lot
And-
of coordination.
and
We're
I-
always missing documentation. You know, it's a
Okay,
lot of
well,
work.
The town
And I
clerk's not
respect the
supposed to
work that
take
you
it.
do.
The town clerk is not supposed to take it if it's missing documentation. So everybody was rushing to get their applications in on the 24th. Like I said, several businesses and people had come in to me, and they threw their applications in. I get it that the clerk's office was inundated, but the application's not supposed to be taken until everything's in there. So the fact that you have a whole list means that this is not working the way it's written right
Well,
now.
no, they may have had to, an example, they did submit a certificate of insurance, but the liability is on right, or there's no liquor, or we're not named as additional insured, or the physical address of the property where it's gonna be held is incorrect.
Are we giving them a sample insurance form that they're supposed to be submitting?
No,
Okay, well, we should be doing that.
okay?
And-
Let me
and a
just,
sample site
let me
plan.
just jump in here. I would really like to hear from these guys. We've got 3 great workers here that are involved in this, so if you guys could please weigh in, cause to me, this is actually ending up sounding like more work. When we started out, the problem was it was an overload on the town financially, and this is sounding complicated. What are you guys thinking
Carol
about all
goes
this?
through a
Let's
checklist
figure this out.
with regard to the application, but there are certain things on there that we won't know about with, fire marshal. They have their
plan.
safety plan.
Right.
That
Location of
we-
fire extinguishers,
Right.
dumpsters, trash barrels.
That he determines after the fact whether or not they're gonna need the safety plan. We wouldn't know that. That's
Right.
not part of what we could check off. The certificate of insurance, we have something in place that allows for them to turn it in late. They are charged $50 if they turn it in late, so we do allow for that. So that's something that wouldn't be part of that. So there's a few little things, even if there's, gonna be police presence, that they have to control traffic, Laura has to tally up.
That's a
for-
separate agreement, I have to try
Right.
and get the numbers from the police
Right.
and get
Right.
them in and have them signed before the event takes place.
So
That's-
all
that's
these
another
things
part.
won't
That's
be
the separate
part
agreement with the
of
police
the
department.
original application, so,
Right.
you know, so
It
there
triggers
are
the,
things.
it triggers these other items.
Now,
Right.
also, if there's an event with bleachers, okay, I was just on the phone with the Suffolk County Department of Labor, if the set of bleachers holds 300 people or more, it has to be inspected and approved by the Suffolk County Department of Labor. Those bleachers are, I don't care if it's an event and they're 270 days in advance, we can't inspect those bleachers until they're in place. So you're always going to scramble, you always have last minute things. This is very, very, very convoluted, it's a
Well, and if
lot of
we-
work for all of us.
And I feel like if we don't follow the proper steps,
Mhm.
we are liable, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
We're always gonna.
we're giving them an approval, I mean,
Well, you're
I
talking
guess
about
somebody
bleachers
could
that could collapse.
theoretically make an argument that somehow the town board's blessing of a chapter 255 now is, imposes liability. I think it's a stretch, I'd love to see that one have some success, if someone is, on private property and they don't carry out the plan correctly. You said you were looking for comments, I mean, one thing would be just simply say no to these two applications. That would be the simplest of the solutions, because it's done and have them rescheduled.
But it's just not gonna be two.
Right, well, we
That's
don't
the
know
problem.
that, we don't know that.
We only know about two right now.
I think
The other
we all
thing,
have
as
a
far
pretty
as,
good
the
idea.
other
We
thing
know
as far
there's
as an
gonna be more.
amnesty, I'd rather not make it overly complicated. If you wanna do an amnesty,
Do an amnesty for just returnees, how about that?
well,
ARF
once,
doesn't fall in
once
on
you
that.
start treating people differently, I just, you start, automatically developing different classes of people, and I don't wanna have a
Right,
class pitted
understood.
against another. I
Understood.
think it's gotta be across the board.
I would say amnesty for a year, and the people that paid the penalties, return the penalties.
I think if you're gonna go that way, keep it as simple as you can, rather than try and make it overly complicated.
Tell you the truth, right now, I am so confused of like what we're doing.
Sounds
Mhm.
confusing
Exactly.
to me too.
I mean, I look at this cheat, okay, we do
Right.
this, and,
Right.
and then even Carol in the clerk's office, I wanna give her, a shout out. She actually did like a cheat sheet, because it's so confusing, she prepared a, diagram here to say, all right, if they came in with the application here, if it's a short form 175, it should have come in on June 6th. So now, this is March, so now we have to count from March until June, how many days at $20 a day, it's more work.
Yeah, well, that's something that came up in the audit report in the building department also, where you should have just a sheet saying 60 days late, this is what the fee is, 90, so that everybody's
much what
looking
this
at the
is.
same page. So, that's good. And you know what, it's a new law, so it's good that you're putting those mechanisms in place within the first 3 months of creating the law, to make it easier for you to say, okay, it's 27 days late, so
Right.
this is what the penalty is gonna be.
Right.
So, I think that's good. I think that's something that needs to be done whenever we're charging penalties or fees for any application.
Well, yeah, it is in place now. so,
Good.
I think we should be able to have IT make something up to make it simpler too, you can put it in the
Tim,
calculator.
what do you wanna?
Yeah, that would be great.
That would be nice.
Like an
Yes.
amortization
So-
schedule.
It was
Yeah.
never our
something like
intent
that,
it
yeah.
was never our intent to make more work for you guys,
Yeah.
I can tell you that much.
And the same thing like with carnivals, with Midway rides, they have to be inspected too by Department of Labor.
Right.
You can't inspect something that's not there, so even
Right.
if they came in 270
Right.
days before,
Doesn't matter.
we still have to scramble at the end to make
Once
sure
it's
that
set
we
up.
get those.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're only putting the carnival rides up 2 days before, I have 2 days, and hopefully it's not a
Right.
Saturday and Sunday when I'm not here to get that permit from them.
So,
So there's a lot of work just in the normal course of events,
Right. Yeah.
without,
Yeah.
without,
Regar-
without rushing
Regardless of
applications.
what you do local law-wise, that's never gonna change.
Right.
Right.
exactly.
But then,
it does
but then
help
add
to
on top
ex-
of it, to add rushed applications, I
Right.
think is an additional pressure.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think that the local law should be sent by certified mail to everybody that's had applications in the past. I think that we should do a 1-year amnesty.
Even the
through-
people who turned in their applications?
they're
they're well aware.
Yes, because then next year if they come in late, then we can say, who signed this? So that nobody's saying, I mean, some of those people could have been in the audience and said, oh, that means I better get it in, but they didn't receive the letter. If we need something in the file for these, repetitive events that has a signature that somebody received it,
But what
So-
about ARF, that we didn't ever prepare a resolution, we're not gonna send them a letter because we don't
we-
know about that.
okay, so we have a
Right,
1-year
right.
amnesty, so we'll capture them in the 1 year.
So you're gonna have another year next year?
No, December 18th, 2019, the amnesty period ends.
Okay.
But what's the amnesty?
no penalties.
For anybody.
Yep, let them pay the application fee.
But we,
And is it the new application fees?
The application fees remain the same.
Remain the same.
we have the 45-day denial.
Yes.
That's,
So
so
we're still back to square one.
we're still back to square one. We still have a 40-day denial.
I say,
45-day denial.
45 day.
45.
I say that if it comes in less than 45 days, that it's up to the police chief and the fire marshal as to whether or not the event is problematic to be held on that day.
I will let you guys speak to that.
And let them fill out a form that they sign and have notarized that says, I know that I'm submitting this application 2 weeks before the event. I know, it says right on the affidavit that they sign, I know that I'm submitting this application late. I know that it's subject to the review of the police, the fire marshal, and the town board, and that my application can be denied, and that the application fee may be held by the town for the work that the town is doing to determine whether or not my application can be accepted.
Who's denying the application?
Either the town board, the fire chief, or the fire marshal, or the police chief.
Are you guys comfortable putting that onus on the
I think
police
that's
chief,
a
the
lot of
fire
time.
chief, or?
It's
I'm
hard
not
to
gonna
get a hold of
speak for
people.
any other departments, but when I prepare a resolution, I don't wait, I send out to everybody that actually does inspections and has to weigh in on the event, cause I get fluorescent light burn, I sit in my office, I don't go do inspections, I don't do that, so I really leave it up to the departments for their work. But when I send the resolution out that I prepare in draft form to ask for comments back, I don't always get them, and then I just put it forward, because if I don't, then the event could take place, not enough time, and then I have to ratify it. The event happens anyway, so that's another problem I mean,
We just ratified an event for the Jamesport Fire Department, so are you gonna tell the Jamesport Fire Department within the first year, sorry, you can't have the event, cause you came in 30 days before instead of 120 days or 150 days before? I mean,
I don't
I'm
know,
saying,
I guess that's why we're here.
for a 1 year cycle,
I
I
don't know if
think.
the fire marshal and police are gonna,
I don't think they're gonna want, I mean,
I
Bob,
don't think
what,
they want
how
that
do you feel about having the
responsibility.
fire marshal
Bob's
and
got a headache.
the
I
police
think.
have the responsibility of denying an application?
Why
And
don't
then
we
who
ask
the-
the
who
police
the-
chief and the
Again,
fire marshal?
I agree with Laura, I would not wanna speak for them.
Right,
But historically, we have not made that call. We've always left it up to the town board to make that determination.
they come to me and say, what do you think the town board wants? I don't think they're in a position.
yeah, but if they sent us a memo saying that this is, like I said before, with Chicken Kids, this has been a problematic event, we recommend that the town board deny the application, and then we deny the application, but I think that there always has to be an appeal process. I think that you cannot just flat out deny anything without an appeal process, I think that's even in town law.
That is,
Bob, is that correct?
I'm not sure where in town law, but I know certainly for a zoning application, there's no question, there's always the relief valve with the zoning board of appeals, but on other things, I'm not sure.
For anything in the town code, I thought there was a relief process.
I'm not familiar with that.
like, for the Chicken Kids, their
Then
event
that's
is
enough.
coming up the beginning of April, by the time we get
April
to.
27th,
I thought it was the third,
Chicken
fourth,
Kids,
fifth.
March 27th, I think
Yes.
is their date, March 27th through the,
oh, right,
April
April 27th
7th or
was
something
our,
like that.
our.
yeah, right.
Yeah, theirs was, I thought, anyway, I believe it was the beginning of April, and they had, I mean, it wouldn't allow them enough time. Yeah, April 3rd to the 7th.
Okay, let's just play this out. April 3rd to the 7th, you give that to the fire marshal says, I do not have the time right now to review it. And then the entity comes to the town board members and asks to have it. So you have the fire marshal that says, I can't review it, so they're basically denying it. The town board that could possibly be saying yes. If the town board says, yes, we're allowed to have it, then the onus is on the fire marshal to drop what they're doing and to go review the application.
Which he does.
Which
Which is why he said he's so backlogged.
so, and that gets us back to square one, where we sat here months ago with all of these issues. So I'm not sure what
Well,
the
I've said
requested
what I wanna
change-
do, so I guess
So what,
you and you
please-
don't wanna do it.
No, I'm
Tim,
not
where are
understand,
you?
I'm not understanding, what
Nobody
you're
has
saying
weighed
is
in.
to
I don't
ask,
know why you're so angry.
We're-
Just
you're
having
asking
a
I'm
for
not
the-
angry, I've said I'm.
You look angry. We're just talking.
you're saying that the fire marshal, police, chief of police, or the town board can deny an application?
Yes, within the next year, through December of 2018. Come, just,
So if a fire,
Come
can I
January
just
1st.
finish? talking.
2019.
Can I just finish talking? So if the fire marshal denies an application, or the police deny an application, but the town board approves the application, then what do these guys do?
Then the fire marshal and the police chief drop everything they're doing and review the application. They work for us.
So then the fire marshal and police actually cannot deny an application, only the town board can deny the
Right,
application.
they should make a
They make a
recommendation to
recommendation.
us. They shouldn't have the authority to deny. They should be able to make a recommendation to the board.
Okay, so so then what would you like to do? If we're not having the police and fire marshal deny, only the town board can deny an application, that's what
Did
you
you
want?
hear what Tim just said? I wanna do that.
Okay, and how many days are they responsible to accept it one day before the event?
I wouldn't say one day
So
before the event.
what would the days, for somebody comes in for an application for that?
2 weeks. 2
Remember
weeks.
Big Bounce House?
Yeah.
Mm.
So 2 weeks, so you wanna tell these guys, 2 weeks, you can have an event with 2,000 people, somebody drops off an application 2
30
weeks
days.
before, how do you guys feel about that?
30 days.
Right now, we are 40 days, just so you know.
45.
The old application was 40 days, so we're
Right.
lowering it from the old
Well, then go to
application?
the old application and keep it the same.
Then
Keep it
chicken
the
kids
same.
gets
going
denied.
back?
Go back to the old application and just use that for the year of amnesty.
And chicken kids gets denied too. But, hey, you know what? The fire marshal may say, chicken kids, have it inside, don't have it outside. We don't have time to inspect the tents. And then they have to tell some of the people they
Regardless,
can't come.
Even if the code didn't change, Chicken Kids knew as of 2017, there was a 40-day submission
I know that.
before the date.
She admitted it on the record the other night.
Okay.
Yep. She
So-
said, I have always been late,
Right.
repetitively, continually.
So
She
what
will
do
not
we
be
do
late
to the
again.
Right.
She said, you have always taken my application within 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Had I known that you weren't gonna take my application, and I would have gotten it in sooner. But it's been regular that I've filed late and you've always taken my application, so I expected the same thing.
That's why we
Doesn't
enacted a
mean
new
that-
law.
Right, and she brought that
Means
point
right.
up.
And that's why we enacted the new law and worked
Right.
so hard on it, because that was constantly what
Right.
these guys were put up against.
Yeah.
And that's why we worked so hard to enact the new law.
She also said that she doesn't live here.
We
Right.
didn't
Pay attention
just,
to our
we didn't
neighbors.
just pull these ideas out of thin air, you based them on other towns, correct?
Yes, absolutely. I researched 4 other towns, and this one town was the closest to it. But even like our current application, well, the one that we just replaced, the one that was in existence for at least 28 years, it didn't even have to supply a Suffolk County tax map number. The first thing I do on a piece of property is I see where it is, I make sure that it's not in in an agricultural where it prohibits any kind of event like this to take place. You know, we also have to check if there's any violations, like we tell in the application, if there's any violations or any previously recorded covenants, we need copies of them. They're not gonna do that, but I can't ask someone to order a title report for something, so we're trying to get the best that we can. That's why this application was so vamped, and it's because they may have other, restrictive covenants on their property that we didn't even know about, and I don't wanna put it before the town board and say, oh, approve this event. Meanwhile, it's out in the public with Suffolk County Clerk's office that they can't have this event.
And I
Do you
think
have
we
the-
might-
And that's just a small part of
I
it.
think we might have a lot of events coming to us too, because doesn't Southold limit their events,
Just their outdoor, their road
During
events,
their-
their road
the
events.
road events?
Do you have access to the business automated system that we have, the IPS system that we have in the building
No.
department and planning department?
No.
Okay, well, we should get you access to that, because all you have to do is type in the tax map number, and it'll tell you whether or not there are any violations on the property. It'll also tell you whether or not there are any covenants and restrictions on the property, based on your review of covenants and restrictions of planning approval.
Right.
So if you have access to the IPS system, you type in the tax map number, you can go click on planning, it'll say covenants and restrictions, a copy of the covenants and restrictions will be attached, and you should really have that anyway, because you review all the
What
covenants
I
and
normally
restrictions.
do is I have to go to the tax roll and I have to find them. Sometimes I have to go to the map and find it, then I get the tax map, then I go to our website. Then I look on the tax roll to see if there's any exemptions on there, so that's another part of what we do too. Again, a lot of these events are repetitive, so I know the properties, I know that there's no ag restrictions on
Right.
it or anything like that. The new ones that come up are here and there, so it's not a big deal, it's not that cumbersome. But over the years, this is what we've had, so when I prepared this resolution through other towns and what we had already, I tried to tweak up what we're actually looking for and included, like, the other application said name of security company, so they put PSA, okay? where are you? What's who's the contact person?
Is
Is
that
there a
on the
phone number?
application? Are you asking for that on the application?
Yeah, on the
You're
previous
asking
one.
who the security company is and their
Just the
name,
name.
address, and phone number?
Now I am.
Okay, good.
Before,
So, like
we
I
didn't
said,
have
it's a
that.
work
They
in
just
progress.
said PSA. Okay, well, who is it? Now, I just got someone else, a company, they give me, I don't wanna say the name yet, cause we haven't really reviewed it yet. So I go right on to New York State, the corporation search.
Right.
They're not even there. So I call her up, the applicant is the name of the corporation, so I call her up, I said, who is this? Oh, well, it's such and such. I said, well, questions 3, 4, and 5 say if it's a corporation, I need to know all the corporate names, their addresses, their percentage of ownership. You know what, I have an N/A,
Okay.
N/A.
So I'll just say that I file applications in New York City for businesses, and they make you submit the certificate of incorporation and who the partners are.
That's what I'm asking for this
Okay,
one
so
now.
you don't need to ask for
Yeah.
it, you could just tell them to attach a
Right.
certificate of incorporation.
Right, but, and again, that's only one application.
And
Each
time
app-
consuming.
Each application is different.
We're gonna
Each
have to tweak
application
it
is
as we
different.
go along.
Right,
It is a work
absolutely.
in progress. We made a lot
Absolutely.
of changes to chapter
Yep.
255 that people are not used to.
No, exactly.
So I think that your access to the IPS, and you know what, just because a property didn't have an exemption on it last year, doesn't
It
mean
could.
that it has an ag exemption on it
I've
this
gone
year.
into Paul and asked him,
But
can you check
you don't
this
have to go
property?
into Paul. You can get access to the IPS and you can have access to the assessor's office and you can look for yourself without having to play
No, that
phone
would be
tag
great.
or
That would be
run
great.
around talking to people.
All right, so we are still back to square one here. So,
I think so.
well, okay, then explain to me what we're doing.
Okay, what you have written down on your paper, Tim said 30 days.
So then,
And we do an amnesty for 1 year where we don't charge the penalties. We take the applications in. We also have a template that says, I realize that I am putting my application in late, that you are taking my fee, and that I will not get my fee back if my application is denied. Recommendations will be made from the fire marshal and from the police chief to the town board as to whether or not they have time to review the application. If they do not, then the town board will deny the application.
so are we gonna accept an application with a couple thousand people 30 days before? How do you guys feel about that?
How does who feel? You need to
They
ask the
speak up.
police chief and the fire marshal. They already said they don't wanna weigh in.
Deal with
These
them.
guys
They
are-
deal
That's
with
the
them.
final say.
But I know,
So
but
if we
these
feel
guys,
it's not, we don't.
but I respect you too. I mean, you've put a lot of work into this. I mean, and you put a lot of work into the time for the applications, and basically, what you've expressed previously was the 45 days, and now we're saying 30 days, no matter the size of the event. We had worked very hard to have differences in the applications based on the size of the event, and now we're saying we're going backwards to less than what we required even before we did all of this, and saying 30 days, you can file your application, no problem, 30 days before, it doesn't matter the size of the
I think
event.
it should be the 40. Just
Go to
keep it for
40.
the year
Then
for
go
the
to
40, the way it was.
Keep it at 40 what it was, that's what I
Keep it
said,
at
go back
40
to
the
the
way it
old way.
was. That would be the easiest, that's what everybody
Right,
knows,
what
and if
everybody's
we
used
send
to.
them certified letters,
And when they come in with their application, they're
Right.
handed a copy of the new chapter 255 law, so they've got it in their hand.
I still say
So-
we send it out certified, return receipt.
My
with
question
signatures.
then,
Yeah, no, I agree.
becomes, if we're rolling it back to the 40 days, does this whole thing have to get changed? Redone, because we do have dates available, or do they just get charged everything and the fees get waived for a 1-year period? Is that the better way to do it, so that people get used to
I'm not sure
it
what you
should
guys
be?
are exactly doing. I know I heard amnesty for 1 year.
Yeah.
I hear 40-day cutoff period. We were asked the question, you know, what's the significance of the size of the event? And I was not part of the discussion, so I think it's probably unfair for me to comment, but last year, it was at any given time. This year, it's over the course of the event, so we're really talking two things.
Right.
In the case of an event that has waves, which I can think of right off the bat, you may not have more than 300 people on the site at any given time, even though they have 4,000 during the day.
Right.
So the question is, what's needed from a law enforcement standpoint, parking standpoint, safety standpoint? And I think that's just a difficult question to respond to, because it's two different creatures.
Right.
You know, it's really, how much, you know, again, we've bumped up because we decided to change it so that you can't maybe fudge the records, I guess, I don't know, to say, you know, how many are there at any given time.
I'm very comfortable with the work that we did on this
Again, that's why
application.
I'm-
I think we worked very hard and we talked about it. I don't disagree that there is a learning curve, and if we wanted to do something with that learning curve, I am not comfortable changing any of this. I am comfortable waiving the late application fee, on it, for, I would say, 6 months. I think if we need to send the certified letter out and everything else, I think that we could, you know, on those people that didn't pay attention to the first letter, because we know there are 27 out of the ones that
Paid
at-
attention.
paid
There was 40
attention
more.
and did
According
what
to the
they
list,
were
there was
asked,
41
and
people were sent the notice.
27 people, obviously, the US mail works for 27 of those people and not the other 13.
That could be accurate.
And, you know, and I think
Yeah.
that they worked very
All
hard to
got
get
it.
their applications in time. I think they complied with what we asked them to comply with, and I think then to turn around and say, you know, what we've implemented here and what we've worked for is incorrect, because with the
Oh, I don't
first
think anybody's
application
saying
that
it's
came in,
incorrect.
I mean, really, this is the first application that came in underneath the new application, and basically we're saying, well, let's just scrap everything. I don't think we know whether it works yet or not. So if we wanted to do a waiver of the late fee for a 6-month period, the late penalty for a 6-month period, I could see doing that.
Cycle. I think you need a whole cycle. I think you need a 1-year cycle. We send out the certified letters, we hope that everybody comes in within the
Well,
time
it's
that
only
they're.
13 people that are getting certified letters.
So now, no, everybody should get the certified letter, so that if they come in
27
late next
already.
year, they don't say, I
27
forgot about
responded
came in and
already.
I
filed
know,
their
but
applications.
but it doesn't matter. They could say, I forgot.
No, they
But
filed
it-
their applications already.
So next year they could forget. I'm just saying, in fairness to everybody, Laura will have in her file a signed letter that we know that everybody got it.
Laura, what's the letter you sent out to everybody?
I didn't send it out, actually, well, I prepared it.
Town clerk, sorry. So it notified them of the changes and,
Okay, for
It-
many
it
years,
was-
the town has
Yeah,
provided,
that's to the
exemption.
not-for-profits.
Oh, wait, there's
Right.
another one.
There was 2 different letters
Oh,
that were
this
sent.
is not-for-profit
There was a
that I have.
not-for-profit letter, and then there was a general letter that was
Is
sent
this
out.
the other one?
Yeah, that's it, very short, yep.
Was a copy of the town code sent out as well, with the
No.
letter?
I don't believe so.
No.
Okay, well, that's problematic.
yeah, but everybody,
Doesn't
where
even
does
tell them the
everybody get their,
timeframes.
where does everybody get their application for, to file? They get them online or they come in to get them?
I think both, but I
Right.
think a lot of them
A
do
little both.
online.
So, and the new application was online?
Mm-hmm.
What if you don't have a computer?
Then they come in to get them and they'll be given the appropriate
What
application?
if you don't know that you have to do it 120 days in advance, and they come in 45 days in
There's
advance?
always gonna be
Send a
those
certified
people
letter.
who just don't know.
Send a certified letter,
Well,
refund the
and
late
what
fees
about-
that we paid already,
So you're talking about the people who were already in the system?
everybody.
But what about new people? People
New
who have
people
never
are-
had an event before,
archetype.
and they
They're
won't
gonna
know.
Right.
run into that.
They won't
because
know
they
the
won't know.
timeframes.
Right.
But
But they'll know
anybody
for
who
the
has-
next
But
year.
wouldn't you look into it?
Anybody,
If I was doing an event, first of all, I wouldn't advertise it till I had the thing in my hand.
Agreed.
That I
Well,
don't
that's-
understand. People advertise
That's-
before they had done the paperwork, so that's an issue.
Yeah,
And if I was doing an event, which I did the Bating Hollow Church barbecue, I mean, I went and got all of my paperwork done. I mean, you look into it, you find out, you
Right.
call up. You don't wait to the last minute and then fumble around, I don't know. I feel like it's silly to backtrack on work that was done and work that was done at the recommendation of people who are doing this on a daily basis. I understand we might have to work a little since it's the beginning, we can figure something out, but we're getting really complicated here. And it's actually starting to sound like more work. I'm okay with wavering, the waiver on the late fees, and let's deal with these 2 that came in, why don't we just,
Well,
which
wait.
is what you said, Bob. You
Yep.
said, let's deal with the 2 that came in.
We
Okay.
have
And
late
also
fees
have-
for submission
one
of
alternative.
the application, and then we have late fees, the $50 for the
Right.
certificate of insurance.
Right.
And Bob also
So-
said, what about the people that paid the late fees already?
That's the problem. And I don't know if there are, how many of them there
I don't-
are.
PC Richard and Home Depot, I don't know if they paid or they're coming in. I have to double check on that, but they had come in after the, grace period.
And they filled out the new chapter 55
right.
application.
Well, I
But I
certainly-
don't know if they were prepared for the late fee. I think maybe PC Richards did pay the late fee.
Did they
Home
say they
Depot-
got the letter?
For the 20 per
I
day or the
honestly,
$50 for the
Are
insurance?
they on the
I think they were on there.
They were on it?
They were on there, cause they
But
have
I
it
don't
every
know,
year.
I couldn't answer
I
that.
also
So
feel
does
like
Home
we need,
Depot.
whatever we do, we need to be fair across the
Well,
board.
that's-
I mean, we
that
kinda
really
can't
See what you-
pick and
critical.
choose,
Yeah, no,
like,
you
oh, I
can't.
know you, you're gonna get a break, oh, I
Right.
don't know you,
No,
I don't know.
It's gotta be,
It's gotta be
it's gotta be everybody.
fair and
Mhm.
equitable, whatever we
Right.
do.
So even to change
Anybody
the
who-
late fee, what is the, how is the timing of that work, Bob? Let's just say what, if we were going to change something, even if we don't agree what thing we're gonna
Local
change,
law. Local law.
time-wise, how does that have to happen with Diane, with the
Here,
posting and all that other
March
stuff?
19th, you have the notice of public hearing. March 28th, the public hearing goes out in the newspaper, and you can adopt it on April 2nd.
So it doesn't, the chicken kids would not be able to have their event
Probably
either way?
not.
What's the date of their event? April 4th, right?
April 3rd through the 7th.
Okay, so if we adopt it on April 2nd, then they're good. Or tell them to have it all inside, and then they don't need a
No,
chapter 255
The
at all.
public hearing would be on April 2nd,
Second.
Yeah,
Correct.
Well,
and that's if we scramble to get everything quick.
Public
Next on
hearing,
April
give me
3rd.
Public hearing.
you know what? Everybody, chicken
the public
kids seems to be
hearing.
the
Right,
one
right,
thing
right,
that
right.
keeps coming up.
Could you adopt on the same day?
I'm
You
gonna
can
go make
adopt on the
copies
same day,
of what
or,
my
but,
recommendation was,
But-
and I don't
but-
have to
we
say
I
it
mean,
again.
they're advertising an event and having people, you know,
They're already
if the
in the
public
works.
comes in and says, no, that this is not something, then, you know,
I mean, we could spell out in the local law, the public hearing, exactly what we're waiving, and what we're not waiving, but you have to let us know what that might be.
We'd have to make that code change.
and I'm not
Yeah.
sure what that is yet.
But wait a minute, when you have an amnesty period for like parking tickets, you didn't pay it, or you didn't do something, you didn't get a permit for your pool, they don't change all the code, they just give you this
No,
one
they just
time,
did an amnesty.
Right.
this
Yeah.
one
Well,
area that.
that's the point.
It's still in effect, but
Right.
however, we are overlooking that or letting
Correct.
you slide for this
Correct.
amount of time, and then from that point forward, whatever is in
That's
place
what we're asking.
remains.
So the days remain in effect, would the 45 days still continue to remain in effect?
It's 40, not 40.
Well, no,
45
we're
to
not
to
going back to,
deny.
we're not going
Oh,
back to the
gotcha.
old application, we're
Okay.
keeping everything in
Right.
here. The only thing that we're suggesting to waive is the late fee penalty.
And the
is
time
that-
frame, I thought.
And the time frame to what?
So
Here,
that's-
copies, if anybody wants to know what I think we should do.
So that doesn't help the chicken kids.
No, doesn't.
No, they're,
Oh, I'm sorry, I should have given you guys something.
Sorry, we got time. Helps for them.
And she was willing to pay the late fee, she said,
Here you go.
Yeah,
as she stood at the
Correct.
podium. She said she would pay that.
right.
You know, that was, thank you, Jim.
Sure.
What to do.
Do we wanna talk with the legal department
It
and
was
figure
just
some
such
stuff
a-
out and come back again?
A big bite that we did in changing this.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with it, I agree with it to this day,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't foresee exactly how bad it was gonna be with people coming in, cause
Yeah.
I firmly believe she's, and orphan chicken kids are not gonna be the only two you're gonna have a problem
No,
with.
we sort of knew that there would be people who would come
Right.
in and be
I
unaware
don't think
or
it's
have
been
some
that bad.
Anybody knew, I'm
27
not
people
that-
came in, that
It's-
was
Yeah, but
good.
it's early.
it's
That's
only-
the
but it's
other
only-
part,
Kudos
it's
to them.
early.
Yes,
but it's only,
exactly.
it's
Give them
only
praise.
13 people that regularly run events here that haven't filled the application, and we don't know that they didn't come because they weren't doing the old, they may be quite comfortable doing the new application, they just haven't
Well,
hit
then
their
we'll
time
not be
frame
doing
yet.
the event this year.
Well, no, they just
Perhaps.
haven't hit their
Possibility
time frame
too.
yet, cause if you have something
Right.
going on in October or November,
Could
you're
be
not,
any of those.
you're not required, so really, we're only talking about 13 people here, 13 events. Correct? 13 events that have previously
Well,
happened in the town.
13 event sponsors, cause some of them do multiples.
Right, so we're only
So-
talking about 13,
Right.
But maybe they didn't come in yet because they don't have to come in yet.
Right,
Their
that's
time, their
exactly,
events
don't know.
later.
perhaps.
Yeah,
We
if they're
don't
gonna
know.
have it in
So we can't
October, then they
assume
wouldn't have to
that
come in
they're
until
not
July.
coming in,
Right.
they're probably coming in, they just,
Right.
they're watching the
In
timeline.
October, you know, they're gonna come in September.
well, no, because we can
And
reach
then
out to
you're
them
gonna be running
again.
into it again.
We can reach out to those 13, I mean, it really is we can reach out to those 13 people again, and, you know, make sure that they are aware that, either by certified letter, that they have the information.
The only way I would assume to do that is to see what applications of 27 that came in and bump it up to the mailing list and see
Right,
who
Yeah, who
those
the other
people are.
people are.
That would be-
Well, I feel like we're in agreement about sending out the certified letter.
To the 13th?
The 13 people, yeah.
Are we we're in okay, we got
So
one
all
thing
of
done.
them, I thought. Just so we have a record that everybody that's had events in the past got it. Even for the people that filed early, maybe they were going on vacation and they never got the letter.
I feel like we work a little bit, we could try to work a little bit with people this year, and then after that, a rule's a rule.
Well, yeah, but that's what we're
After
trying to
that,
do, work
right,
a
I
little bit
know.
with these
So-
people.
I
and
know,
we
but that's
can't
why
come
I'm
to
not
a
worrying about
determination.
next year. The word
So-
hopefully
Next year,
will be
the
out.
law is the law.
So
Right,
the-
that's what I'm saying.
The question is for these guys, do they deny if they give their application, if they're 45 days out, or are we changing that to the 40 days? As it was in the previous application, which, are we going from 45 days to 40 days, and at 40 days it gets denied?
I think 40 days, but I think that the two that are already in, like the ARF, well, we're gonna waive the penalty on that, right?
So they're within their 40 days, I believe.
Right. So Chicken Kids,
Chicken Kids, I don't think can happen one way or the other because it's a
40
local
or
law.
45, it doesn't matter
So-
to them.
They're not, yeah.
so you wanna just deny that?
I don't think you can approve it because we have a local law that says it has to be denied, and between the publication and everything else, we can't get it done before their event.
How did we get it done before when it was 2 weeks before the event?
We didn't have
Local law.
we didn't have a statement in the local law in the past, that we used to, have the policy that 3 town board members would sign off.
Policy,
Ratifying
not
it.
That's what we used to do in the past.
So do we wanna do, well,
It wasn't in the previous version.
so if she has it inside Polish Hall and doesn't have any of the tables outside, then she could still have the event, cause it's a catering facility, right? And she doesn't need a 255 at all.
But the churches have fairs inside and not outside, and they get chapter 255s.
What is the definition of what you need, of what a chapter 255 is and when you need a chapter 255?
If, you know, I think it's anything more than 100 people, and, or an event that's not necessarily covered by your certificate of occupancy or letter of pre-existing use. So I guess, you know, with respect to the Polish Hall, question would be, what's their use? Is it a catering
It's
hall,
here.
food service,
The
or,
special event, it's
or
here.
flea market?
Application.
Yeah.
Any form of entertainment, 8 weeks duration or less, open to the public with or without an admission fee, and held on a one-time or occasional basis, which may include but not be limited to, for example, carnivals, circuses, fairs, bazaars, and outdoor shows, horse shows or exhibitions, concerts, road rallies, and parades. A special event will not include any activity conducted at a permanent facility which has a valid use permit covering such activity. A special event shall not include any activity having fewer than 100 attendees at the event. A special event with fewer than 100 attendees shall apply for necessary permits under Article 1, parades and assemblies of this chapter, and fire prevention. So that's the definition of special event.
Okay, so I think we should accommodate Chicken Kids for this one time, and I think that I would like the town attorney to figure out a way that we can accommodate them and we can still be legal.
Times, actually.
I don't know how we could do that. Under a
Well,
local law
I
says,
didn't ask you, I asked the town attorney to find a way to figure out how we can do it.
and so what about for ARF then? You wanna do that too?
Well, we're changing it to 40 days, so
So
they
if
fall
somebody,
in then.
but, so if somebody comes in next week, somebody comes in today and says they wanna have an event in 3 days, what are we supposed to do then?
They're less than the 40 days, so we would say no.
But we're doing it for Chicken Kids.
I said we make an exception for Chicken Kids, cause that's an application that they tried to file last week and they couldn't get in, which was
But we
35 days prior to the event.
exceptions for the 2 people and not even had this
Yeah.
whole discussion.
No, you can't,
Yeah, but
Catherine,
then that
because it's a
opens you
local
up-
law.
That opens you up to anybody
Yeah.
coming in and.
Well, we don't know, I
This
mean,
is
we
the
might be
day
getting more people
that
and you
we
might be
got
right,
a,
but we don't know.
like a FedEx
So then I go to
Colonel has it on
my
the desk.
fourth recommendation, which is the fire marshal and police chief make a recommendation to the town board and the town board decides.
On that day.
Well, that currently happens now. All applications that get reviewed by the police and the fire marshal. That's already happening.
And ultimately, they come to the
Yeah,
town board.
that's already occurs on every application. No,
You guys
Even
decide.
out here, it's April 3rd and
27th.
27th.
Okay.
Well, what do you 3 at the table think we might be able to do, like, any suggestions? What, I think once next year happens, it's done, you know, that's,
agree.
the rule is in.
Yep.
What do you guys
But if you
think
make
is
exceptions for
workable?
one, are you
You have
comfortable
to make
making exceptions for other
right.
people?
That's,
That's
That's
what,
that's
exactly-
my
You're the
concern.
people on the
Exactly what
front
you have
line
to do.
dealing
that's
with
the
people.
problem.
You
That's why we
can't turn
go,
anyone else away then, you really, in all fairness, if
Yeah.
you're doing it for one, you've gotta do it for all.
that's why you go for, based on a recommendation from the fire marshal and police chief as to whether or not they can get the work done, to make sure that everybody that's attending the
Is that
event
more
is
work
safe.
for them?
But even if the fire marshal and police, they review, they just review them, the fire marshal reviews for safety. So he doesn't, you know, you can have an application a week before, the fire marshal, if they have the time to do it, can say that your safety plan and everything is okay, but it's still not falling within what our local law says of when you have to submit everything.
You had recommended 40 days, right now it's 45 days. You had said, Tim said 30 days, I said 2 weeks, you said 40 days.
Right, but by local law, changing of the local law with the waiver,
I'm not
going
saying-
with the publication and the post and publish and the public hearing.
I'm
I
not
mean, that would
saying
be the way
change
you-
the local law, I'm saying add to the local law everything that I have on here.
Bob,
Yep.
in regards to chicken kids, there's no way we can get them approved to have this event for those dates.
If they didn't even file 40 days prior under the prior law, then even what you're talking about doing here still doesn't get them
Right.
in the window.
But they could change the date of their event,
Correct.
right?
Well,
Couldn't
we're
they
saying that,
change-
but that might be
She
a
said-
tremendous problem for her.
However, she made the mistake of advertising before getting the permits, that's the bottom line.
So I mean, even with the 40 days, I mean, I think she's still not
Right,
gonna
no
be
matter
able to
what
get
we
in
do
under
here
the
today,
clock.
we're not gonna be able to accommodate chicken kids. Because if we wanted
If
to
you're gonna
change
stick with the
something and we had
40.
to have a public hearing and we had to go to vote on it, it's not gonna happen in time.
There's not enough
April
time.
2nd.
Right.
There's not enough time.
So chicken kids almost becomes a moot point.
And we tried, we discussed it, I think we were trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and, you know, I mean, the shame
wanna
is if she
accommodate
came in
people.
the
We
40
do.
days even under the old
it
application,
would've been so much
she would've
better.
actually been the old application and this would've been no problem whatsoever.
right.
You know, so it's sort of a self-imposed hardship created by her because she didn't even come in under the old application. Cause she would've been prior to the new application taking effect.
And by the way, we have devoted an hour and 15 minutes to
Just-
Well, this is the, so,
It's
so,
one of those
so
items
are we
that's-
looking to?
Hard to figure
So
out.
we're looking to put it would be an amnesty period, not a waiver, right? It would be an amnesty period
Correct.
for
what I'm
implementation
hearing.
of late fees for the first year of this application process. I think that we should still provide them with the bill and have it be so that they're aware that it happens and that we are waiving it for this year during the amnesty period. I think they should still get the price of what it is, of what the late
They
application
should
fee.
know what the
They
price
should know
is,
what it is,
and
so.
that they're being
and that-
given that amnesty.
That they're given that
Exactly.
amnesty. I think that that's a little bit of a reinforcement as
Right.
to what
This is what it will be next year if you're late.
Yes, yes, and I think that's just a reinforcement of what's going on, what we're doing.
And I don't wanna be back at the table next year, doing this again, if we're gonna do this
Guarantee
amnesty
Well,
period,
we
the
certainly
next
can't
year-
guarantee that.
Right,
Yeah.
let's,
Because
our
this
job.
is a trial in progress. I mean, this is very new and a very big change, so we may find that a year or two from now, we may have to address certain parts of it.
So,
That's always gonna be the case.
and
Right,
are
like
we,
you're amending the
are we,
application
are
now.
we waiving the denial period? Are we changing, or giving the denial period, amnesty of the denial period from 45 days down to 40 days now? So it would be that we would be given amnesty period for the late fees, and we would do from
No,
45.
there's no sense to change
It's-
that because
it's
it's
such a
not gonna
short
help chicken
span.
kids.
So then
It's a
everybody
short
still
span.
denies
Keep
at
it-
45
Keep it
days.
at the 45 days, cause
Yeah.
it's not gonna make a difference for the one we're
If they
trying
come
to
to
help.
my office, we have the right to
And it's
deny
only 5 days, it's
based on
not
the
even-
45 days.
Yes,
And we are
That's really
firm
what
on
I'm
that,
here for
correct?
today.
and send them straight to the supervisor's office
took
from
an
you.
hour and
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Thanks. Gonna have the sign, 255s that way.
Yeah.
We should
Okay.
take out a full-page ad in the paper.
I know, you almost feel like, how do you get the word out to
I know.
everybody? It's almost
People need to
impossible.
know.
Not everybody.
It is, it is.
The girl from Medford, from Chicken Kids, doesn't read the local paper.
Right,
Correct.
she's not here, so she
But
doesn't,
that's not
right,
our,
I know.
you know, we can't.
She's very well versed in these,
Waste of money to put it in the paper.
events. She runs these events all over Long Island. She has run these events for quite a few years here with a special permit. Had she been within the 40 days, which she is well versed in that, she did not even do that. So, you know, it's kinda hard to do this, accommodate her when she didn't even follow the rules that she knew were in there prior to the changes,
Right.
since 2017.
Right, she
And
The
hasn't
only
ever,
people, the only people that are gonna suffer are the vendors and the people that are trying to buy used clothing affordable
know.
for their kids to get
Yeah,
through the
I
summer.
mean,
I wish we could,
Unfortunately,
I
That's
wish
it.
we could accommodate her.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
know,
like, we
but-
hate to deny people when they come to the counter. We wish that they were timely and we could just make it easy for them. I,
And
you know,
Polish
I
Hall,
hate to
because
do
Polish Hall's
that.
not gonna get the rental for the day.
Exactly.
So-
Well,
And
hopefully
they-
they'll
We
reschedule.
can't accommodate them, Bob, you're saying there's no way that we can accommodate them, so we'll just tell them that.
If you say, ignore the law, I mean, that's the way we accommodate them.
No.
I mean, I don't know how else.
You know what, it's unfortunate
racking my
because
brain.
it
We
doesn't,
tried, and I
we tried.
appreciate-
And it does involve people in our community who are
Right.
going to be upset. However, we weren't trying to be difficult. They have to look to the person in charge of the event. She made mistakes and that's what's happening.
Jody said it right, I think she won't be late next year, or for her next event.
Well,
I
I'm
think she
hoping
does
that
one
she'll
in the fall.
reschedule,
She
you know,
usually does
she,
two
Yeah,
weeks.
I'm hoping she'll
yeah, she'll
reschedule.
That would
reschedule.
be the
One's
best.
two
I'm
a
hoping
year, I
she'll change the
believe.
Yeah.
date
Yeah, two
and
in
still
Polish
have the
Hall.
So if
event.
one pushes too far back, it may
Right.
be too close to the other, I don't know,
I know.
I don't know.
But it's her business plan, this is a for-profit business, this isn't a not-for-profit business, so, you know, hopefully she will reschedule.
Phew, that was
Okay, so we're gonna waive the late application fee.
Well, Bob, you'll write up the resolution, so,
year?
for
Yes.
1 year, we're waiving the
Not
late,
6 months, 1 year.
1 year, and that's it.
Okay.
So we're gonna go to
So
public
just-
hearing.
We'll go to
and a
public hearing.
resolution.
Yes.
I thought that we were going to do an amnesty for 1 year, we were going to let them come in 45 days, regardless of the number of people at the event, so that needs to be in there. And I also think that, we should be returning the late fees to the
Well, we
people that
have to
paid the late
return
fees.
to the paid
And
if
I
they
think
paid.
that we need to have a template in the town clerk's office that they sign that says that they're aware that they filed the application late.
Is it 60 days for a long form?
Long form is 60, short
60,
form is 45.
right, we're sticking with that?
45.
Yeah, yeah, well, long
Yours-
form, if the
Long
75.
form,
we changing-
and
are we
long form,
changing it, or are we
long
sticking
form is
with-
for how many people?
750 or higher, up to 5,000.
Right,
And prior to that, for long form was 100, what did we have in our old
1,000.
application?
I think it was 1,000.
I have that
I
here.
don't remember.
I say we
I don't
refer
remember
back to
either.
the old law for a year, but they have
for-
to pay the current
No,
fees.
Laura,
for
just
everything, no.
tell me what that is.
It was 200.
200 days.
200 for short form, and then for 1,000 attendees,
When did they have to fill out the application with the long form in the previous
How
one?
many days?
that's not here, I'd have to look that up, but it was 500, we just increased it to
No,
650.
but under the old application, the long form had to be submitted how many days prior? Was there a difference between long form and short form?
I don't,
I think there was,
hold on one second.
I'm
let me
pretty
look
sure
at
there was. 40,
I have so
it was
many
40 for the
versions here.
short,
Okay, yeah, so it was
It was
100.
120.
So are we comfortable remaining with the 60 for the long form and the 45 for the short form?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. But it'll be the fee
fees
that,
will
the
be
fees
waived.
that are waived.
But the fees are just for the late fees per day.
It's just the late fees per day that we're waiving,
Not the $50 for the certificate of insurance.
not for the
it doesn't-
certificate of
okay,
insurance,
Okay.
correct?
Okay,
Ooh, we got something. We-
Just the $20 per day.
right.
Everybody
well,
clear?
there's $50 per day for something, Laura.
Yeah, that's,
That's for health certificate or something.
No, no,
No.
that's,
no.
If
there's
it's
another one
beyond-
here. I have so many versions.
This was the last one.
that's a little,
This is what certain kids will be doing.
I think we started at $20 if it was a certain
It's in the
period of
code.
time,
I
and
have
then
the
if,
code.
if
This
they
is a
were
new one?
later than
That was the last one that we,
whatever days,
Talked
it
about.
was 50.
Yeah,
they'll both, whatever the late fee is that's
There
being
was
waived.
something that
If
was
more
a
than
little bit-
60 days late, $50 per day.
Right, so both of those are getting waived for this year.
Right.
So it's the late fee penalty for application submission.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how it's
Late
written?
fee application, $20 per day beyond submission deadline, as we found it, $50 for 60.
Because we adopted
So-
it December 18th, so we had a public hearing 2
So
weeks
if you're
after
more
this.
than
and then we
60
adopted it
days,
in
it's
December.
$50 a day.
But if there's
Want a cleaner
more,
version
if
that I
they're
didn't
more
write
than
on?
60 days late, the long form, we're denying.
Right, right, and same with the short form. Short form is 45 days, long form is 60 days.
Right.
So would both of them get denied? If long form comes in at 59, day 59, it's denied. If a short form comes in at day 44, it's denied. But if they get in between that, whatever it is, the 90 days and the 45 days where we would be charging the late fee, then that late fee is what will be waived. So there's a day that they need to have the application in to just pay the standard fee. And if they do not get it in by the standard fee, they can submit an application, but then there's a cutoff period. Between when they had to submit it and that cutoff period, a late fee was charged. That late fee between when they had to submit it and the cutoff period is what will be waived for a 1-year period, whether it's whatever the fee was, depending on the application, the long form and short form.
And it's 45 days and 60 for denial.
Correct.
Right.
Everybody's comfortable with that? Okay.
All right, we have to do a local law then, we have to do an amnesty resolution.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So the local law is to amend those late fees.
It will be an amnesty period for the,
To waive
For the amnesty period.
It'll be an amnesty period for 1 year, it'll revert back to the 45 days and the 60 days.
So are we collecting the
45
fees at
days,
this
60
point?
days
Because
now.
that local
No,
law is
there's-
not in effect.
what was that?
Are we collecting those late fees at this point? Because that local law is not in effect.
Yes, you have to until it's changed.
Okay.
What,
And then it would get refunded, Bob?
So when that,
Because we can do
Do we
it,
have any of those?
oh, you mean the vouchers?
No, anybody who's come in with late fees?
I think they have, yeah.
I
just
know
have
one
'em-
coming.
if they have a separate check, have them write a separate check. And just after the new local law
Right,
gets
keep
adopted,
it-
just
right,
send them
then
back
make
the
it
check.
easy, yeah.
Your work just got busier.
Bob, you don't have to give us the exact, digest what's in there and then write it up.
You can write them. All right.
We're good. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
guys.
Feel like we're
Thank
back
you.
4 months ago with.
I know, I know.
Thank you
Sometimes
very
you gotta
much,
tweak
and you guys are
things.
doing a great job with this.
Yeah.
The new form that you came up with and processing and everything, so
Absolutely.
thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
guys
Thank you
for your
all.
hard work.
All
Go have
right.
lunch.
Can I get a first and second to go into executive session? Current litigation in the matter of Oak Hills Association versus Woodson, and a proposed litigation regarding traditional links versus Board of Assessors of the Town of Riverhead and the Board of Assessment Review.
Motion.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried.